Welcome guys to my segment, which is supposed to be at 10:30, but you know, I have you for 1.5 hours, and I'm going to talk about resilience. So the whole theme of your entire day is about resilience, and notice most of the speakers were talking about it. Mark talked a lot about it. So I'm going to talk from my perspective. So quick introduction, my name is Eugene, and I am a performance coach, and what I do is to help companies and employees become better physically, mentally, and emotionally, so that you can perform better at work. Alright, there'll be a little bit more introduction of myself there. Alright, anybody knows who this person is? Right, this is J.K. Rowling, right, the author of Harry Potter. Everybody knows the movie Harry Potter. But many people don't know so much about J.K. Rowling. And back in 1994, well, she was pregnant. She got a very terrible divorce when the husband left her. And when the husband left her, she was left alone to fend for her child. She was under government aid because she had no income at all. And she didn't even have money to buy food for her child. And she still wanted to become a writer. So she wrote her book. But she didn't have money to even buy a computer back in 1994. So she typed the entire manuscript on a typewriter. 90,000 words. It's a very thick book. 90,000 words on a typewriter. And did she get the job immediately? No. She went to 3 dozen publishers. And finally, after 3 dozen publishers who rejected her, said that nobody wants to read about a kid wizard who runs around and he's a nerd and all that. He went to the final one, she went to the final one, and he said, no, this is not an interesting story, but you know what? My kid loves wizards, so I'm going to let her read it. And the chief executive officer's kid loved that book. And then that book became a hit. It became Harry Potter, and she became the #1 selling author in the world. This is the story of J.K. Rowling. Another person, probably something more familiar, Oprah Winfrey. And we all look at her, many people look at her as the richest woman in American entertainment, the leading woman in terms of women power. But many people didn't realize, at a very young age, she had a terrible childhood. She was raped even before she was 10 years old. Not just by one person, by 3 persons that were close to her. Her cousin, her uncle, and her family friend. Not once, repeatedly. And by the age of 14, she was pregnant. She wanted a child. So she gave birth to the child, but 2 weeks later the child died. And continuously, in a very poor neighborhood, she was abused. But that did not stop her. She wanted to be successful, and this drove her. Back when she went to school, she studied really hard. She got an honors in high school. She got a scholarship in college. She went to work for a local TV station, and she said she's going to climb the ladder and then finally own her own TV station and her own channel. And of course, she's Oprah Winfrey today. A third person who probably none of you would know. And this guy is called Aaron Lee Ralston. And he's just a mechanical engineer. So the story of him went this way. He was feeling very stressed one day after work. And this guy loves mountain climbing and canyoning. So on a Friday, right after work, he decides for the weekend, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack some of my stuff, I'm going to go mountain climbing. And he didn't tell anyone, he didn't call anyone, leave any messages on where he went. And when he went mountain climbing and bouldering, he enjoys the outdoors, it keeps him stress-free. Suddenly a boulder dislodges and falls on his arm. Now, when he falls on his arm was still okay, but it's stuck. It's stuck this way. He tries to pull it out in many different ways, tries to go this way, tries to dislodge that boulder, but it didn't work. For one day, he was struggling. It still didn't work. The second day, his water finished. Still didn't work. The third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day. On the sixth day, he told himself this: if I don't escape, I'm going to die. So what he did was, with a blunt, not sharp, penknife, he started cutting his arm. And he cut off his entire right arm with a blunt penknife, bit by bit, severing the joint, the muscle, and everything else. And with that, he got free, but he still had to climb down. And there was one section where he had to rappel 80 feet down. Still made it, became alive, quit his job, and became an international motivational speaker. Now, what do these three people have in common? It's the R word. What is it? Resilience. Resilience, and that's the topic we're going to talk about today. It's such a powerful topic, and I use it as the key to success, because if every one of you have that kind of power, and how do they get this power? So this talk is going to be about that. I'm going to try to make it packed. I have 1.5 hours with you guys, but I'm going to try to make it packed with activities and packed with a little bit of emotion and packed with a little bit of fun as well. So, quick introduction. My name is Wong Eugene. It's pronounced the same way as a normal Eugene, and it's Y-U-J-I-N spelled over there. And my job is to inspire performance in people and transform their lives. And I've done so with many different groups of corporates in the last 10 years. I'm a motivational speaker, and these are all my different programs in various different places. Sometimes the groups can be pretty big, 400 to 500 people, or even in the thousands of people. So this is about 3,000 to 4,000 people. And what I do is just go out on the stage and try to motivate these people. We have a very comfortable group over here today. And I hope that we can interact right after this. You want to talk to me after this, we can do that as well. So I have trained more than 50,000 employees from various different places. And also, my passion is basically to help you guys to boost productivity at work. And this is an article in the newspaper saying that my techniques, I've got a lot of techniques, but the techniques are all implementable and easy. Right, okay, start moving. So these are all just different articles. I love to make a combination of just mind, not just the mind, but also the body. And I hope I'll get your permission later to also help you move around a little bit, because you've been sitting down the whole day, yeah? So these are all articles in the papers about me. Now, why am I showing you all this stuff? I'm showing you all this stuff because I have a very short time with you guys. And in fact, I've not met any of you, I've not spoken to any of you. Usually in a workshop or training, I'll get a chance to know you first. But I want you to believe in what I say, because I've actually not planned to be a motivational speaker. In fact, my plan when I was younger was to be a lawyer. And I managed to do that. I got myself a degree in law and finance, a double degree, and I decided to become a lawyer. And after becoming a lawyer for a while, I decided that I want to go into a large corporation. So which corporation is good? People told me with my kind of degrees, I went into investment banking. And in investment banking, if you know any investment banker friends, it's really tough. It's really tough because the work hours are super duper long. If you think the work hours are long on your side, we are 16-hour days. 16-hour days that were long. So when I joined, I was about this size. I was 70 kilos. Then at the end of 3.5 years, I ballooned up. Because these guys were very good. They said, if you stay back, we will sponsor your dinner. and we have 3 very established restaurants that deliver food to us. McDonald's, KFC, and Pizza Hut. Very established indeed. So not only did their profits go up, my waistline also went up. At the end of 3.5 years, I was tired, I was stressed out, I was burned out. I went to the doctor. The doctor told me, Eugene, you are only 26 years old at the time, and you have hypertension. You have hypertension. And you're going to get a heart attack if you don't do anything about it. Now, I didn't listen to him. And what happened right after that was I went back to work. For 2 continuous days, we were working 18-hour days. 18, 19 hours, we were listing a company. And then the next night, I had to tell my boss that I need a break. I need a break. I went to his room, knocked on his door, opened up, I saw him sleeping at his desk. I called him silently. He didn't wake up. He didn't wake up at all. I called him again, he didn't wake up. I shouted his name, he didn't wake up. Then I realized what happened. He suffered a heart attack in the office. Now this shook my world. To ask myself, are you in the right frame of mind? Are you doing this the right way? I immediately actually tendered my resignation there. For 4 years, I did not work. For 4 years. What I did in the 4 years was to find myself, first to get fit. I wanted to get healthy and fit, started working out, losing that weight, and I really fell in love with the idea of fitness, and I thought I would like to become a fitness instructor, so I got certification in fitness. Then I thought, you know what else I want to do? I want to learn about the mind. I want to learn about people. So I became a hypnotherapist to hypnotize people. I won't hypnotize you guys. Alright. And then I learned about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and finally I actually went back to get a Bachelor of Science in the US in holistic living. And I came out and started this journey of mine as a speaker. And I have been very lucky because as a speaker, I have won awards, and these are some of my awards. And like I told you, it's because I only have a short period of time with you. I don't have a chance to build that credibility with you guys. But what I want you to know is that I'm here to help you to live a fuller life, to become better at what you do. Okay? So just trust in whatever I do. Every single bit that I do here is backed by science. I am a very scientific person. I research every single thing. And this is my biggest achievement so far. I had to put that in. And that's really me, because I was 95 kilos before. I've lost weight, and I said that I want to be on the cover of Men's Health magazine, the #1 men's magazine in the world. And this happened in 2016, after many years of working out and training hard. So I will get you guys to go and work out, don't worry. All right. Now, the workplace today is a battlefield. It's a battlefield. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, 25% of all working people think that the workplace is their #1 stress in their life. The #1 stress. WHO says that stress is the 21st century health epidemic. The #1 health epidemic. Right? And the biggest study that ever happened for workplace that happened in 2017. 1.5 million people actually took part in this, 4,800 organizations, and 36% of the people who answered these questions said that they are extremely or highly stressed from their workplace. So it is very stressful times, right? But what about us in Singapore? Are we stressed up? There is no doubt about that. Singapore workplace stress is on the rise. 40% of Singaporeans says that office politics is the major stressor in their life. We just witnessed a very entertaining political show in our neighbor in Malaysia. And why is it a very entertaining political show? It's because it's so entertaining. Many people didn't realize this, that the Tun Mahathir, who is fighting against Najib, who is the Prime Minister, Najib is actually his student, and Tun Mahathir was the mentor. And Najib is the son of the first Prime Minister of Malaysia. So when he became the Prime Minister, obviously everybody thought that, wow, this is going to bring up the country, but unfortunately he didn't bring up the country, but he just brought up his pockets. So Tun Mahathir came back, and he had to join forces with his enemy, which is the opposition, whom he used to trash and fight and tell him to go, I want you to go to jail and stuff like that. So the ex-Prime Minister goes with his enemy to fight against his student. And the old Prime Minister is now the new Prime Minister. Alright, so it's worthy of a Korean drama. But office politics is also the same. I have seen it myself. I've worked in one of the biggest investment banks in the world, and I've seen it myself, right? More young professionals are suffering from burnout. In fact, 90% of patients, these are from psychologists, they said 90%, psychologists say in Singapore, are grappling with mental health issues resulting from stress at work, right? And of course, we all know this is a very big issue nowadays. The suicide rate is growing. It's one of the worrying things under the Health Promotion Board. That's what they're trying to do, trying to control the suicide rate is climbing, alarming rate, especially in the millennial group and the youth group, and even at students group right now. So it is very alarming, guys. It is very alarming. Hence, we need to then be resilient in these troubling times. I'm trying to paint this picture for you because out there it is the statistics is really against us. So what exactly is resilience? What is this word, resilience? So in short, I know this is theoretical, but I need to give you a bit of theory. In short, resilience is the ability to cope with the challenges and obstacles that you have in your life and bounce back from it. And not just bounce back, but sometimes bounce back higher. Alright? So that's just basically resilience. And people say resilience is inborn. Like some people they look at me and say, yeah, you're very lucky, you're born with a six-pack. They don't see that sweat that goes behind the whole thing. And I was athletic when I was young, but I was terribly unfit when I was working. Alright, they don't see the work that goes behind it. And it's the same thing with resilience. And resilience is actually a skill. Some people are born like that. They are born into a very troubling time where life was very difficult, and it's actually the environment that makes them like that. But resilience is a skill. Like what Mark said, it's actually like a muscle. Same thing with discipline, same thing with focus. They're all muscles. So when it's a skill, then at least you think in this way that, I can get that skill as well. Even though I didn't go through tough times, it wasn't difficult for me, I can get that skill as well. And how do you get that skill? How do you get that skill? Okay? So I want to teach you a few different concepts. The first one is called mental agility. And one of the sports I used to play when I was young, and in fact I played at national level, was squash. I was one of those guys who think in my mind, as long as I hit the ball really hard, and the harder I hit, I will win games. So I train my arms and I go pam, 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 I keep hitting that ball, but then I kept losing the games. Why? Because the key skill in squash is, the harder you hit, what happens? Anybody play squash here? When you hit, squash, right? It's in a room. And the harder you hit, if you hit really hard, where does it reach to? It bounces off the back wall and comes back to the center again. So I just train about hitting hard, but the truth is, actually, the game of squash is won on the ability to move very quickly and to react very quickly. And this is what we call physical agility. which I didn't understand at that time. All I wanted to do was to be strong and to hit the ball very hard. That's why I never really made it to a very big international level. But it's the same thing with your mental side. The ability to be agile, the ability to shift your mindset and move your mindset and not let your mind control you is a very important skill. And I just want to say two words here. What happens when you have mental agility is that instead of reacting to something, when somebody says something to you, you react. How can you say that? You react. You respond. And when we say respond, it's very different because when you respond, you think of what you want to say. But sometimes when you say, how can you say that? And then you say, I shouldn't have said that. Put it back, but it's too late, right? So you respond. And the other thing I want to talk about is response flexibility. Now these are all concepts which takes some time for me to teach, and these are usually taught to people in my one-day workshop on resilience. But response flexibility is the ability to choose what is your response. Now some people have only a fixed response. Like you say this thing, you know they'll be angry. You do this way, you know they'll be angry. But if you have more flexibility in your response, you will win the game of life. Not the game of squash, but the game of life. The same thing with physical agility. If you have it, you will win the game of squash. If you have mental agility, you will win the game of life. So I want to go through a simple formula that I want to teach all of you on developing mental agility. Alright? Now the first thing about change is awareness. And this is a very interesting one because I teach people about also getting healthy, and many people don't want to get healthy until they are aware they are not healthy. Right? It's like, go and do blood pressure, wow, you got high blood pressure, time to control the food. Suddenly, hey,